home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
Singling out Muslim Americans, moreover, feeds the lie of terrorists like ISIL that the West is somehow at war with a religion that includes over 1 billion adherents. That's not smart national security. In fact, it is ISIL and Al-Qaeda and organizations like those that are waging war on Muslim communities, even during the holy month. And discriminating against Muslim Americans is also an affront to the very values that already make our nation great.
What you're listening to are the gunshots that went off not too long ago in Munich, where the vermin, the subhumans, the Untermensch, who wear headscarves, speak in Arabic, are Muslims, open fire on people in a mall, killing several, and then escaping into the tunnel in Angela Merkel's Germany. Angela Merkel is the insane leader of Germany, as you well know, with the same absurd insanity as Barack Insane Obama, who capitulates like Neville Chamberlain every time there's an attack by Muslims. Do you know what Merkel did just last week after the Muslim went crazy on a train with an axe, attacking innocents on a train with an axe, chopping them up, screaming Allah Akbar? She insisted that Germany introduce Islam lessons into the public schools. Do you understand what we are going through? Do you understand that we're dying? Do you understand we'll all be killed? Do you understand that unless Donald Trump wins, we're finished? Do you get that? What am I talking about? Who am I speaking to? Do you know what just happened in Germany? Do you understand what just happened? Last night, your sick, crazy president celebrated Islam in the White House while Trump gave his triumphant speech. Your crazy, capitulating president, or is he working for the other side, had a group of Muslims in the White House to celebrate the end of one of their holidays, which I don't even know the name of, nor do I give a damn. I don't give a damn what their holiday is. How's that? And I don't want it in my White House. How do you like that? And I pray to God when Trump becomes president, I don't see an imam for the next 8 years. I never want to see an imam in the White House again. I'm sick of it. Look what they're reporting on Fox News. Terror attack is suspected. What do you think it was, you idiots, at Murdoch Jr. Enterprises Incorporated? Murdoch Jr. Enterprises, terrorism suspected. No, it was Timothy McVeigh back from the grave. No, it was the neo-Nazis who shot up fellow Germans in the mall. Insanity. The world is just watching the West melt down. A gunman opens fire, a Muslim gunman opens fire at a McDonald's, then shoots people up in the mall, in a suburb, by the way, and then he escapes. There's nothing better that I can do for you right now than read you a page from Scorched Earth on Muslims, because I said to myself, did I see this coming? I'm going to read you a page and see if I was prescient, and I'm sorry to say I am. I saw this coming. So here's a page from Scorched Earth on Muslims. Ever wonder why there are so many young men coming west, but no women, no children? It's because of hijrah, which the Muslims describe as, quote, jihad through migration, close quote. Who are these traveling jihadists? They're not all from Syria. Many of them are from Bosnia. Some of them are from other nations. It really doesn't matter where they're coming from. What matters is where they're going. Like Germany, for example, I write. How did it happen that a nation with a strong conservative bent was suddenly overrun in the opposite direction? Well, you can thank those within its government who are, quote, liberalizing its immigration policies and in the process are destroying it. Who is Angela Merkel? Germany's chancellor? What do these traveling jihadists have on her? How did Merkel become a dictator with the power to destroy her own nation? For that matter, who gave Obama the power to be God Almighty? As I explained in the previous pages in Scorched Earth, we know what is empowering these people, their arrogance and a narcissistic need to tear down anything they did not build. But who is empowering these evil people? I will use that word until the world hears me. Evil, because evil exists. Evil is a leader who does not respect the wishes of the people, other than a small, loud, delusional population of like-minded psychotics. The rest of us have a right to our own national security, our own national identity. We, the people, have a right to secure borders, just as we have a right to secure doors and windows in our houses. Inherent in our Constitution, in the Bill of Rights, is our right to resist illegal search and seizure. The government has no right to break into your car without a warrant, to break into your house without a warrant. You're protected there. So what gives Mexicans the right to break into your country? Who gives Muslims the right to break into Germany, which has similar protections in place? Criminals do evil. Criminals do evil. Political criminals do evil. Merkel may as well have a black burglar's mask over her face and a tire iron in her hands as she breaks the windows of Germany and pries the doors off their hinges. No matter what happens, bombs are going off, Paris gets shot up, Mali gets shot up. That psychotic Angela Merkel is still going to bring in 1 million Muslims into a nation that is shouting, no more immigrants. I'm sad to tell you that that is in my new book, Scorched Earth. There's a lot more in it that I predict in Scorched Earth. Gunman opens fire. Shoppers flee. They shut down the train stations. We don't know how many are dead or wounded. Coordinated attack. The Muslims are hiding in Munich as I speak. And this was a day, by the way, that I was going to talk about Trump's speech, and I still may get to it. But what is astounding to me is that Obama has not yet been impeached. What is astounding that on an eve of triumph by Donald Trump, the man who probably will save the West, not just America, he probably will save the West. I said months and months ago he may be our new Churchill. Do you remember that? Remember when I said Donald Trump may be our Churchill? You remember when I said that? And then I talked about all the Lilliputians in the media and how they attack him. Last night's speech was an example. They all had a speech ready and the writings ready to follow his speech. No matter what he would have said, it was sent out by the White House because they all said the same thing. Dark speech, foreboding speech, not unifying. Then Obama said dark speech that he didn't listen to. It was created by the White House. It's around-the-clock Izvestia, around-the-clock suicidal propaganda. While the West dies, Obama dances with the Muslims in the White House. Yes, you heard me. Just last night, your Muslim president celebrated the end of a Muslim holiday in the White House to a crowd of Muslims only. And listen to what he said in the following clips. And let us go right now to clips numbers 2, 3, and 4 on the Savage Nation.
Muslim Americans are as patriotic, as integrated, as American as any other members of the American family. And whether your family's been here for generations or you're a new arrival, you're an essential part of the fabric of our country. Today is also another reminder that Muslims have always been a part of America. In colonial times, many of the slaves brought over from Africa were Muslim. We insisted on freedom of religion, in Thomas Jefferson's words, for the Jew and Gentile, the Christian and the Mohammedan. For more than 2 centuries, Muslim Americans of all backgrounds, Arab and Asian, African and Latino, black and white, have helped build America as farmers and merchants, factory workers, architects, teachers, and community leaders.
Just shut the hell up! Get the hell out of the White House already and take the furniture! Take the dishes, just get the hell out! Go back where the hell you came from. Doesn't mention one attack by Muslims. Celebrates Muslims without talking about Fort Hood, San Bernardino, Orlando, you name it. All touched by his friends. And this blind fool, or is he blind? Is he really that blind? You don't see after all these years who he really is? You don't see that he was put in here by the secret hand that controls the world, the few secret hands that gave Iran the ability to build a nuclear weapon. That was his number one job. Long before he was president, he was handpicked to make sure that Iran got the ability to build a nuclear weapon. And he was helped along with all of the, quote, anti-Zionists in the media, many of whom are Jewish. He was helped along with all of the liberal suicide cases. And now we hear him celebrating Islam in the White House with one lie after another, not mentioning the terror that they're conducting around the world. Wherever you look, everywhere on the planet that there's a terror act, it's a Muslim attacking his neighbors. Ask yourself a question, one simple question, Mr. Obama. Why is it that wherever there's a terror attack on the earth, to the 99th percentile, it's a Muslim who can't get along or wants to kill or convert his neighbor? Why is that, Mr. Obama? I think even you can figure that out, as blind as you may be. When I come back, we will talk about this terrible day in the world, what it has to do with you, how Donald Trump's speech portends either the survival of the West or the end of the West, right here on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Hey, our Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com, the only company I trust for wealth insurance, gold and silver. Call 800-BUICOIN. Last night, Donald Trump gives the speech of his life. America cheered. Obama, of course, claimed he didn't listen to it, but you know he's a liar about everything. You know he sat there shaking in his boots because he saw a real American. And he was celebrating with Muslims the wonders of Islam, the wonders of Muslims, covering up again for all the terror. Listen to clip 5 of your president, not mine. This man is not Neville Chamberlain. You see, you confuse him with a nice liberal who doesn't want war and just wants peace. You're very confused if you think that that's who the O-Man is. The O-Man is not Neville Chamberlain. There's another name for Obama, another historic figure, but it's not Neville Chamberlain. Here is what he was saying just last night before this attack in Germany. Listen to 05.
For Muslims across the United States and around the world, this is a time of spiritual renewal, a time to reaffirm your duty to serve one another, especially the least fortunate among us. And it's a time to reflect on the values that guide you in your faith: gratitude, compassion, and generosity. And it's a reminder that those values of Islam, which comes from the word salam, meaning peace, are universal.
Liar. It means submission, you liar, you!
Regardless of our race, religion, or creed, in a common purpose, and that is in our shared commitment to the dignity of every human being.
Tell that to the dead, you lying sack of garbage! You know, I may not be able to do this show today. I just watched this lying snake speak after the terror attack in Germany. And again, he broke into a laugh. He broke into a laugh like it was about him again. Our hearts go out to those in Germany. That's the leader of the free world. A Hallmark card comes out of the snake's mouth at a time like this. You have a choice. I really don't want to turn this whole show into a choice between Hillary and Trump, but that's all it comes down to. You want to live or you want to die? Do you want your nation to live or do you want the nation to die? It's that simple. There's no other choice left. This is it. How in the world can you not see with your own eyes and hear with your own ears who he is? That even after a terror attack, he's still whitewashing Islam? Islam does not mean peace. That does not come from salam. It means submission. Every scholar in the world knows that Islam derives from the word submission, not from the word peace. What they mean is we'll have peace on earth if you submit to the sword or if you convert to their religion. That's what it means. He knows that, the snake. That's why the snake was chosen. That's why the snake was chosen, to be the greatest propagandist in the history of the world for a single religion, perhaps since the Middle Ages. I don't know of a single man who has missold a religion on this level. In my reading of history, I don't know anyone who's done a job like this. And we sit here like the idiots we apparently are. What a dumb... maybe the West is dead. Maybe it died a long time ago. Maybe Spengler was right when he wrote The Death of the West, 1908, approximately. I remember reading it in college, and I was floored by it. I didn't know what he was talking about. Boy, do I know what it's talking about. Boy, do I know what he's talking about, what he meant when he wrote The Death of the West. The thing is, though, that Spengler wrote The Death of the West. He predicted something different than what we're seeing. Spengler wrote that book, and he predicted that the Asiatics would take over the world. Well, who knows? Maybe he's right. Doesn't look like China's doing too badly. But right now, we're not being attacked by China with machine guns, knives, and axes. No, that he's leaving to his Mohammedan friends. That they're leaving to their Mohammedan friends. One thing about China, you gotta give them credit for one thing. When their own indigenous Muslim population rises up, they don't say our hearts go out to the victims. When their own indigenous Muslim population rises up in the heartland of China, and long converted centuries ago to Islam, they don't give peace a chance in China. No, they don't give peace a chance. They don't give peace a chance. So what would you like to say about this or about Trump's speech last night? I was going to play something on Islam that he said, but I can't because it was tied into LGBT stuff. And frankly, I am not interested right now in LGBT issues. And frankly, I think it was inappropriate for Peter Thiel of Paywall, whatever his company is, to tell everyone he's a gay American at that convention. You know I'm a sexual libertarian. I've told you that. It didn't belong there. It had nothing to do with Trump's campaign. I don't know why it came up. What did he bring it up for? Why did I care what he does with his body? What did I care what Peter Thiel does in his private moments? What did that have to do with my country? Nothing. And yet he got a speaking slot last night. Great. Terrific. Well, I'm not going to talk about that. Trump said, I'll protect our LGBTQ citizens from the violence and oppression of a hateful foreign ideology. Why did he have to put in LGBTQ citizens? How about all of the citizens from violence and oppression of a hateful foreign ideology? What, they're only picking on gays?
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Our convention occurs at a moment of crisis for our nation. The attacks on our police and the terrorism of our cities threaten our very way of life. Any politician who does not grasp this danger is not fit to lead our country.
Okay, hold it off right there. And immediately the little boys and little girls in the media got their talking points from the Obama administration, e-faxed to them, emailed to them, hand-delivered to them, to call it a dark speech. And we'll play a montage of the little fakers in the media. They all had the exact same words to say. Dark speech, dark speech. Dark. Over to you, Wolf. Yes, it was a very dark speech. And Jake, what did you think? It was a dark speech. Over to you, Andrea. Well, we in Washington heard the speech. It was a dark speech with a dark message. Facebook, Tim Thompson says Savage on fire today. Last night was historic as I listened to Donald Trump state your message of borders, language, and culture. What's amazing is the Democrats saw their reign of tyranny and disordered thinking ending before their eyes last night, and all of the morons in the media know it. Even Michael Moore, you may hate the guy, you know he's a hypocrite and a liar. Even he is saying, you better watch out because Trump's liable to win. Even Michael Moore knows which way the wind blows. And he's trying to line himself up on the side of survival. Now, we have the dark speech montage, which we're going to play to show you the script that came from the White House, probably put together. Who knows which one of the, Ben Rhodes, let's say, wrote it. They sat around and said, whatever Trump says, let's call it a dark speech. Whatever Trump says, let's make sure we say it was a dark speech. And you guys, you know, do it your own way, but make sure you work in the word dark any way you can. Listen to this.
I am your voice, Trump said. It was a loud voice, more vengeful than hopeful, more hyperbole than detail.
People in this hall see him as a man on a white horse who will lead them to some kind of a sanctuary and then pull the drawbridge up behind them. Others looking in are going to see someone they'll only think of as a demagogue of some kind.
Said Martha Redis, a pretty dark speech, labeled Hillary Clinton the candidate of death, destruction, terrorism, weakness, and mass lawlessness.
Yeah, if Americans are not scared for their safety before tonight, they are tonight.
Well, you know who those voices were. George Step on All of Us, a former Democratic operative. Tom Brokaw, who was fired because he was found to be a liar. He was there with the headphones. You know, I saw a movie last night. You may not believe this. I'm going to get back to this terrorism and this threat we're facing and Trump's hope. But on a personal note, I was so burned out from it all. I never go to the movies. I went to see a movie called The Infiltrator, about an accountant who worked for the DEA, who went undercover and made believe he was a drug guy who was going to wash their money. It was pretty good. It was too long, whatever. The point is that the guts of these guys who work in undercover are beyond belief. I should say the women as well. It's mainly men, but there are women who risk their lives every day in the CIA, probably in the FBI, even under Obama, probably even under the faker Jay Johnson and the DHS. I would think there are people working the streets undercover risking their lives. That's what my guess is. But then I thought about the title of the movie, The Infiltrator, and I said, boy, that applies to Barack Obama. If you were to infiltrate America and implant somebody in the highest office who continues to say there is no war against the West, radical Islam is not conducting a war against the West, everything's coming up roses, it's those evil Republicans, blah, 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 you'd have to say he's the most perfect infiltrator that you could ever imagine. That's what I thought of as I drove home in the dark from the movie theater and came back and watched Trump's incredible speech after the fact. I needed some separation between the show, between a little downtime, and then the speech itself, because I had enough of the convention. I caught it on, replay, whatever it was. And we're going to talk about this again. Listen to number 16 from Donald Trump last night and tell me if you think this is a vengeful speech.
Americans watching this address tonight have seen the recent images of violence in our streets and the chaos in our communities. Many have witnessed this violence personally. Some have even been its victims. I have a message for all of you. The crime and violence that today afflicts our nation will soon, and I mean very soon, come to an end.
I guess to Tom Brokaw, that's a vengeful statement. If you want to get even with the criminals, I guess that's seeking vengeance. I guess if you want to uncover all of the double agents in the government, that's vengeance. You fill in the blanks. You can do the rest yourself. Now, as far as today's shooting in Germany, we don't know exactly what happened. We still don't know. It could turn out to be a false flag before this is over. I'll explain what a false flag is later on in the day. As you know, Merkel is in great trouble in Germany for what she's done to the country. As you know, she is doing more damage to the country than was done by anyone in the history of Germany. No one's ever done to that nation what she is doing. And given that she is a dictator, given that she has a background as a communist soldier, yes, look it up. There are pictures of her as a young communist in uniform. She marched in a communist German army. Then she faked it as a center-right candidate, another infiltrator. She's in deep trouble. She's hated. The country's in turmoil. It's in chaos. And this infiltrator is flooding Germany with Muslims as fast as she can. No matter what they do, she wants to bring more of them in. No matter what the people say, she tells them to drop dead. In fact, she's turned her special police on the German citizens who have stood up to her. So I would not be surprised if at the end of today they released a right-winger from one of the jails on drugs to go and kill somebody and then say, see, we told you the threat comes from the Nazis in Germany, not from the poor, peace-loving Muslims. I don't know how this is going to work out, but anything is possible. You don't understand how powerful governments really are. I don't think any of you really comprehend the evil of governments. I don't think you can even comprehend it, because if you did, you wouldn't even leave your house. You'd be afraid to make a telephone call. I don't think most of you understand how evil power-mad bureaucrats can be and what they will do to people. I don't think you have any idea. And the only people who know how evil governments are and what they will do to maintain absolute power are those who have been the victims of this absolute power, or those who used to work for the police agencies and can tell you from the inside what they do to people who stand in the way of their crushing desire for absolute power. I don't know how this is going to end up, but it can go either way. Phone number is 855-400-7282. I want to play another. Well, there's so many more great Trump things that we pulled out. Maybe that'll give us a little encouragement today. Where's Hilda? Hilda, whatever her name is. Hilda Clinton. Where's Hilda Clinton? Has she spoken about Germany, or she has to go off script to talk about it? Where's Hilda? Where is Hilda Clinton today? I can't wait for their convention next week as they celebrate diversity and talk about the wonders of immigration. Okay, let's take some calls. WABC in New York. No, let's go to KSFO in San Francisco, my hometown. JD, line number 4, you're up on the Savage Nation. What's your position?
Michael, after listening to the speech, first of all, I thought Donald Trump was arrogant, and I thought, you know what, I'm not going to vote for any long. But I'm definitely going to volunteer to try and get California into Donald Trump's column. I'm going to go out with my heart. I'm going to do volunteer.
Okay, good, but your phone is breaking up. I'm glad you're going to volunteer. Maybe next time the call screener can give me a hint in advance. All right, 1918, not 1908. Oswald Spengler, Decline of the West. He wrote it in 1918. He saw it right after, almost at the end of World War I, what was coming, when the West killed itself in a suicidal war. You know how many Germans died? You know how many English boys died? You know how many French boys died? New Zealanders, Australians, Americans in that useless war for no reason? Because madmen were running the world then, as are now. See, what's really different is what I ask myself. You had madmen running the world before World War I. You have madmen running the world right now. Madmen and mad women. Merkel, insane. Obama, I don't know whether he's an infiltrator or crazy, or a combination of the two. England, take a look at that faker that just was thrown out. Another one, another faker, another infiltrator, Cameron, infiltrated, made believe he was a conservative. They voted him chip, chip, hip, hip, hooray, rather. Hip, hip, hooray, and he turned out to be another liberal, another socialist, another Labourite, another internationalist, another destroyer of England. Wherever you turn, you see the decline of the West. And along comes a man named Donald Trump, the outsider who you sneered at. Don't laugh at it, please. I had him on the show first in 2011, 5 years ago, and I was condemned, and I was attacked. I was put down. I was called marginal. He was called marginal. They said he doesn't have a chance. And I kept having Donald Trump on the show over and over and over again. And I helped him win the primaries when he was in very bad trouble. And never forget that. Never forget those in the media who ripped him to shreds, supporting candidates who've been exposed for what they are. Never forget which side I was on, and never forget which side Trump is on, and never forget which side you have to be on if you want to survive. And now I want to go back to what's going on from your point of view. And in order to do that, I need to frame it a little bit. I need to play a few more pieces from Donald Trump's winning speech last night. And the most important one was about Americanism, not globalism, which is clip number 18. Robert, please.
I will share with you my plan for action for America. The most important difference between our plan and that of our opponent is that our plan will put America first. Americanism, not globalism, will be our credo as long as we are led by politicians America first, then we can be assured that other nations will not treat America with respect, the respect that we deserve.
Oh, does that scare Wolfie Blitzer? Does that scare Tom Brokaw? Does that scare all of the other Democrat operatives in the media, doesn't it? So Michael Moore, who is a disgusting human being, a hypocrite of the highest order, talks about global warming and lives in a house that burns more carbon than you could ever imagine. You know, the kind of thing. He made a good living pretending that he cared about the country and about the environment. And he now says that Trump is going to win. Even he, look, he knows which way the wind blows. He didn't get where he is as a good liar by not knowing which way the wind blows. He sees the wind is blowing to behind Trump's sails. Let's put it to you that way. Listen to clip number 22 of the despicable Michael Moore right now.
One of the things I've been concerned about this week is that we're all sitting, as you refer to, the bubble. We've been sitting in our bubble, having a good laugh at this. But the truth is that this plays to a lot of people that he has to win to become the next president. And I have to say, I mean, I'm sorry to have to kind of be the buzzkill here so early on, but I think Trump is going to win.
No kidding, Mr. Buzzkill. You try to kill America, and all you did was get rich. But I don't think you're going to kill Trump's campaign, and you know which way the wind blows, don't you? All right, let's take some calls when I come back on the Savage Nation. We'll give you the latest news on this horrible shooting in Germany. We don't know the details. The Munich mall terror, police hunt for the shooter or shooters. Opened fire in a mall, started at a McDonald's. We don't know who did it. Have no idea. 6 dead, more wounded. ISIS is celebrating on social media. They could blame a Nazi for it. We don't know what the false flags in Germany are liable to do next.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
Your Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com. It's the only company I trust for tangible assets, gold and silver. Call 800-BUICOIN. Well, we were going to talk only about Trump's speech and how the vermin in the media had these talking points ready from the White House, from the Hillary camp, really, calling it a dark speech from a vengeful demagogue. If you listen to the responses from the losers like Tom Brokaw, the front man, the beard Chuck Todd, the others, all of those who work for the same exact campaign, the Hillary campaign, George Stephanopoulos, a former Democratic operatives, echoing Chuck Todd, dark picture, blah, blah, blah. Martha Raddatz, whoever she is, again, dark speech. We have all of that. But the fact of the matter is, we, the American people, don't see it that way. And it's funny that it took Michael Moore, one of the greatest imposters in modern American times, to warn them that Trump is going to win. Listen to Michael Moore in clip 23 right now on the Savage Nation.
The middle of England is Michigan, Wisconsin, right, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. And Mitt Romney lost by 64 electoral votes. The total electoral votes of those 4 states in the Rust Belt, 64. Yeah. All he has to do is win those 4 states. And I'm telling you, I was there during the Michigan primary, and he went there in front of a Ford, and he said, I'm telling you right now, they moved this factory to Mexico. I'm putting the tariff on the cars, and that's it. And it was music to people's ears.
Oh, music to their ears, Michael. You see, they actually work for a living, unlike you. You lie for a living. You produce schmaltz for a living. They actually produced cars for a living until Obama gutted Detroit. And, of course, I called for tariffs 3 books ago, and I was attacked as a this and a that and a this, and Ronald Reagan didn't believe. What do I care what Ronald Reagan thinks? Ronald Reagan's dead and buried. I don't understand these Reaganites who want war with Russia, these fools, these neocons living in the past. Ronald Reagan is dead. Forget him already. We're living here and now. Stop with the Ronald Reagan didn't believe in tariffs. How did that work out for us? We lost our electronics industry. Then we almost lost our auto industry. What else needs to go? Do you know how much farmland the Chinese have been allowed to buy? Sorry, that hasn't been on Trump's platform. Because I'll tell you right now, when he becomes president...
Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
We don't yet know exactly what's happening there, but obviously our hearts go out to those who may have been injured. It's still an active situation. And
hearts go out.
Germany is one of our closest allies, so we are going to pledge all the support that they may need in dealing with these circumstances.
Why don't you send Jay Johnson over with a microscope
of something that I've said over the last couple of weeks, which our way of life, our freedoms.
Can you
our
believe
ability
this,
to
Pap?
Go about our business every day.
Saccharine garbage.
Raising our kids and seeing them grow up and graduate from high school and now about to leave their dad. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little too personal.
You hear this? This narcissistic maniac at a time like this? Do you understand why America is up in arms, ready for a revolution? We can't take it anymore. We can argue from today until the end of our lives whether he's an infiltrator or stupid. It wouldn't matter. The result has been the same. It wouldn't matter whether he was planted here by the Muslim Brotherhood or he's just a pie-in-the-sky, crazed liberal who refuses to see reality. And last night, Trump gave a speech which was great, inspiring, moved the nation, got them to their feet. And the little people in the media, Stephanopoulos and the other Democrat operatives, Chuck Todd put in there by the Democrats, Scott Paley, all of them, they all have the same thing to say. Dark speech, protectionism, isolationism, nativism. We heard it all before. We've all heard this before. Stephanopoulos has lost his qualifications to speak for as an objective journalist from the day he became a journalist because he never was one. So what would you like to say about what's going on in the world right now? I mean, I've said what I want to say. I almost exploded in hour number 1. I'm trying not to explode in hour number 2. We still don't know who the shooters were. Could be a false flag. I expect any moment for them to hold up the dead bodies of the shooters and say they were neo-Nazis who targeted Muslims. Because Merkel's in deep trouble in Germany, and as you know, demagogues like Merkel are capable of, well, anything. If a man like Obama or a woman like Hillary are willing to burn a nation to the ground for power, what are they liable to do when they're in trouble in Germany? Think about it. I mean, you say, wait a minute, what? What'd you just say? You think that the leaders of the West are not capable of going to war and destroying an entire nation to hold on to power? Look at the history of warfare, and you'll know why most people who come back from war oppose war. You ask any man, I don't care if he's a special forces operative who's come back, even ask ex-Navy SEALs what they think of war. They'll tell you the same thing years later. When they're young, maybe they go in with true belief that they're going to save the nation, and they probably do in small part. But at the end of the day, they don't want to kill for old men and old women who are doing it for their own power or their own self-aggrandizement or interests that have nothing to do with the nation at all. Interests of bankers, interests of God knows who. So we're not calling for war, we're calling for self-preservation. We're calling for survival. We're calling for a president who puts America first, a president who says that we will be safe can be, as safe as we can be, really, in our own nation. A man who we hope will build that wall, a man who we hope will stop bringing in Muslims from terror nations, unlike Germany, which is bringing them in by the millions. And now we see the results of that. We don't know who did the one today in Germany. We have to reserve judgment for a few hours now until the story is cleared up. Could be a false flag. They may drag up some blonde, blue-eyed neo-Nazi and say, see that? The biggest threat to Germany is not from Muslims, it's from the neo-Nazis. So in the name of safety, Chancellor Herr Merkel is now declaring a state of emergency, and all those who oppose this government will be detained for their own safety. We don't know what could come tomorrow from the dictator who's running Germany. 855-400-7282 is the phone number. MichaelSavage.com is the name. Let's hear the president at the White House Summit on Global Development again calling for globalism. He wants globalism. He doesn't want America first. Listen to clip 24 of The Infiltrator on the Savage Nation.
Globalization is a fact because of technology, because of an integrated global supply chain, because of changes in transportation. And we're not going to be able to build a wall around that.
No, but we could build a wall around immigrants from Muslim nations. We can build a wall around bringing in infected immigrants from Honduras with Zika. We can build a wall in many different ways. No one's saying we should stop trade. Nobody wants to go back to an agrarian society. Nobody's saying let's go back to an agrarian closed society. You know that, Obama. And you were put there by the globalists in the banks. You know that. George Soros, the money changer in the temple, put you there in order to make sure he can continue to rape nations one after the other in the minds of millions of people who actually know what's going on and suspect that you are an infiltrator who does not represent the American people nor the American interests. Trump does. And that's why he's so popular. And I don't want to spend the whole show playing his speech, but there are pieces of the speech that must be played. But before we do that, we need to again play for you The Infiltrator last night in the White House. That would be your president, the Democrat, Socialist, Islamist president in the White House, who had the audacity, as Trump spoke, to say he didn't listen to the speech when you know he was lying, and then then take that evening to meet with Muslims to celebrate the end of a Muslim holiday that was punctuated by murder and mayhem and terrorism around the world. And talking, you're not going to believe what you're about to hear, about discrimination against Muslims in clip 1.
Singling out Muslim Americans, moreover, feeds the lie of terrorists like ISIL that the West is somehow at war with a religion that includes over 1 billion adherents. That's not smart national security.
Right on.
In fact, it is ISIL and Al-Qaeda and organizations like those that are waging war on Muslim communities, even during the holy month. And discriminating against Muslim Americans is also an affront to the very values that already make our nation great.
How about discriminating against non-Muslim Americans? Is that an affront to the very values that make America survive, Mr. O? Again, I have to repeat, I saw the movie The Infiltrator last night, a mixed bag, 30, 40 minutes too long, and a lot, just kind of wooden, but it was interesting about infiltrating the Colombian cartel when it was in its heyday with an accountant who went in the DEA, made believe he was a money launderer. And I thought about the title, The Infiltrator. And I said, my God, has this government ever been infiltrated? Which is why I wrote Scorched Earth, because you think it's just a book and I'm going to buy a new car with the money. You're mistaken. I give most of the money away that I make from my books, and I don't have to prove it to anybody. I have to prove it to myself. The fact of the matter is, this election is it. I do believe this is it. It's down to the wire. Yeah, I mean, America will survive Hillary. Don't get me wrong. It's not going to disappear. The skies will still be blue. The clouds will still be white. The mountains will still be tall. The seas will still be deep. That's not what we mean by America will disappear if Hillary wins. It means that America as you know it will no longer exist. America with a clear identity will disappear as you know it. The American flag, as you know, will have no meaning if she should win, because she's a globalist. Exactly what Obama is. They work for the banks and they work for the special secret interests that run the world, and they do not want the sovereignty of any nation to threaten the global order. It's bad for their business. It doesn't matter how many jobs are lost. It doesn't matter how many factories are closed down. It doesn't matter how many of our wheat fields are sold to the Chinese. It doesn't matter. All that matters is that they take their arbitrage fees off the transactions. All that matters is that their arbitrage fees keep clunking into the Wall Street coffers. Wherever they're located, they make a percentage on every sale. If you buy, if you sell, they make a percentage. In that regard, they have no nationality. They have no nation. They could live on Park Avenue. They could have a home in the Hamptons. They could buy a limousine made in America. They could send their children to a private school in Upper Manhattan, but they do not identify as Americans. They're not Americans. They have no nationality, no identity with the nation. They're citizens of the world. And they are threatened right now. They're very threatened by Donald Trump, who really is one of them. That's the funny part. The fact of the matter is that they should be celebrating Donald Trump, but they're afraid of him because they know that they're raping the nation and that he's going to straighten things out to a certain extent. And I don't expect everything to get straightened out if he wins. The last thing you're going to expect is that. It's going to take a long time to undo the damage that this man has conducted or is conducting to this minute in his scorched earth policies. If I must repeat the title of the book, I will repeat it over and over again. Scorched Earth, Restoring America After Obama. Savage reveals why we have an infected political system and what we can do to nurse the country back to health. Michael Savage says that for the last 8 years there has been a retrovirus in the White House. I realize those are strong words, but in a time of, let us say, confusion, we need strong words to break through. What's wrong with what I just said? We have a retrovirus in the White House. Tell me what's wrong with that. What is wrong with any of those words? Michael Savage says that for the past 8 years there's been a retrovirus in the White House, and that the last presidential term has infected the body politic with hateful anti-American views and the nation with destructive ideas. According to Michael Savage, the entire Democratic Party, plus many Republicans, have been invaded and infected by these ideas. They just repeat them over and over to the detriment of the United States. The bad news? It is very difficult to detect that we have been infected until it is too late. This virus that has been injected into the body politic may force us to learn to live with our currently infected political system indefinitely. But Savage knows what needs to be done, and he reveals what to do in order to bring the government and country back to health. I know it's going to be a bestseller. I'm not begging you to buy the book. I know you will buy the book. What else are you going to buy? Some ha-ha book? It won't be out until after Labor Day. I timed it for that. I timed it for after Labor Day. When most Americans come back from vacation, I start thinking about the presidential election. Restoring the country after Obama. Scorched earth. The entire book, you could say, is one long plea to vote, not your conscience, but your brain. Don't vote your conscience. Vote your brain. And that's what the whole book is about. And it's interesting, I don't have a quote from Donald Trump on the cover, do I? Did Donald Trump send a quote for me to put on the cover, a blurb? No. Did he even read the book? No. Did his campaign respond to the book when it was sent to them? I wouldn't know. I didn't send it to them. So I don't get anything out of it other than leaving America in a better place than it is. I think I've said all I can say today. We're still waiting to find out who the terrorists are in Germany. German authorities are saying, we're assuming it's terror, but we can't be sure. I guess they have not yet gone into the prisons where they've locked up the right wing and see if they can muster someone out of a jail cell and let him take the rap. We don't know what they're doing in Germany. WJR, Jim, line 1, you're going to be up the minute I come back on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com, the only company I trust to protect my wealth with gold and silver. Call 800-BUICOIN. We have breaking news as to who the shooters were in Germany. They were not right-wingers. They were not blonde, blue-eyed Nazis. Just came out. It's up on the Drudge Report from the Gateway Pundit. Munich shooting update. Shooter screamed, Allahu Akbar, Mr. Obama. Allahu Mr. Obama. Can you get that out of your throat, Obama, and say Allahu Akbar the next time you talk about the wonders of the religion of peace? And by the way, your friends targeted children. A Muslim gunman opened fire in Munich today, targeting children at a McDonald's. The shooter was screaming, Allahu Akbar, according to many sources. The witness saw the shooter from 6 feet away. As always, eyewitnesses heard shooter yelling, Allah. She was 6 feet away from the terrorist. Unverified footage, BBC, appears to show shots fired in Munich. Allahu Akbar. Robert Spencer, CNN, eyewitnesses at Munich Mall say shooter screamed, Allahu Akbar. Breaking news, and CNN reports Munich gunmen shouted Allah and targeted children. It's not making me happy. It shows the death of the West. It shows the fact that we're sheep waiting to be slaughtered. It shows that we have leaders who are complicit in these slaughters. Complicit. So let's go back again to Obama's speech last night at the end of a Muslim holiday of some sort, where he again puts out the propaganda on the religion of peace. And I don't even know if I can play it. Okay, let's play clip 4. This is your president, the infiltrator, last night. Instead of talking about what needed to be talked about, he was dancing and singing with his Muslim friends in clip 4.
And Muslim Americans have enriched our lives every single day. You're the doctors we trust with our health, entrepreneurs who create jobs, artists who inspire us, activists for social justice like the LGBT Muslims who are on the front lines in the fight for equality. You're the athletes that we cheer for, like American fencing champion Ibtihaj Muhammad.
Can you believe how low this man is?
Proudly wearing her hijab when she represents America at the Rio Olympics.
I don't know. I just wish to God I were in a bar, not on the radio. I wish I was 3 sheets to the wind and in a bar with like-minded individuals. Would I like to say a few things right now? But since this is a national talk show, actually an international talk show, I'll let you figure out what I'd really like to say about the infiltrator in a time like this. Do you want to comment on any of this? We now know that the shooter said Allahu Akbar. I guess it could have been a neo-Nazi, a blonde, blue-eyed guy who learned how to say Allahu Akbar. It could have been a Jew. Could have been an Orthodox rabbi screaming Allahu as a false flag for the Zionists. Could have been an Irish nun dressed up in a hijab screaming Allahu Akbar. It certainly couldn't have been a Muslim, because they're all doctors, lawyers, fencers, entrepreneurs, community leaders, LGBTers. None of them are killers. It's because of their hijrah, which the Muslims describe as jihad through migration. Who are these traveling jihadists? They're not all from Syria. Many of them are from Bosnia. Some of them are from other predominantly Muslim nations. It really doesn't matter where they're coming from. What matters is where they're going. Like Germany, for example, I wrote in Scorched Earth. How did it happen that a nation with a strong conservative bent was suddenly overrun in the opposite direction? Well, you can thank those within its government who are liberalizing its immigration policies and in the process destroying the country. Who is Angela Merkel? How did she become Germany's ruler, the chancellor? What do these traveling jihadists have on her? How did Merkel become a dictator with the power to destroy her own nation? For that matter, who gave Obama the power to be God Almighty? And then I go on and on and on. And then I wrote this, and it's frightening. I said, no matter what happens, bombs go off, Paris gets shot up, Mali gets shot up, and that psychotic Angela Merkel is still going to bring in 1 million Muslims into Germany who are shouting, even though the people are screaming, no more immigrants. Okay, so who's the real infiltrator here? Why are the people riled up in America? You think it's without reason? You think that we're all idiotic? See, the left thinks that all of you are idiotic, stupid, not as smart as them. Only they know what's real. You don't know anything. It's only the media people who know anything. You know nothing, which is why there's a war between them and us. There's as much a war between them and us as between us and radical Islam. There's another war going on in this country, and that's the war between the Tom Brokaws and whoever, Todd Brown, I don't know his name, Todd Beard, I don't know it, I don't remember their names, and the American people who hate them. Trump claims, I am your voice. He says, I'm your law and order candidate. That's why they're freaking out. They don't want law and they don't want order. One of Hillary's top VP picks also destroyed emails and uses a secret account. Did you know that? One of the people that she wants to be her vice president used the secret account. We have his name. It's from the Daily Caller. Great site. Tom Vilsack, the former governor of Iowa and President Obama's current Secretary of Agriculture, was caught up in a 2004 scandal that resulted in emails being destroyed. Well, there's a whole story on it. you're not interested. But this is how they work. They're a secret cult. The Hillary camp is a secret cult. I would say Trump is more open than she is, wouldn't you? WJR, Jason, you're up. You got a vent. Go ahead. You're on the Savage Nation.
I love your show. So unfortunately, when I'm driving home from work, I have to switch to a liberal station occasionally to listen to traffic updates, and I entertain myself and listen to the news update. And they put a disclaimer at the end of the story with the shooting, saying it's not confirmed if there's no their cultural descent of faith as Muslim is not suspect, as if.
It's okay. We came in. Now it's updated. He was screaming Allahu Akbar, and by the way, he targeted children at McDonald's.
Yeah, no, it's just how
the Muslim slaughterer loaded a pistol in a bathroom stall, according to witnesses. He didn't shoot adults. He went out and started to kill children eating in a McDonald's. What kind of religion is this? Can anyone explain this to me? More than what kind of religion is this that puts this in people's heads? I have another question. How do these psychopaths think the world is going to support them when they start killing innocent men, women, and children? How in the world do they think they can win a war like this? Do you have an answer to this, caller?
They don't. I don't think they've thought it through.
Yes, I think you're right. This is a death cult that is built upon hatred, and they want to kill anybody in their sights who is not wearing a hijab or is not wearing a burqa. Anyone who is not considered pure enough for them deserves to die. And where does this come from, though, this mentality? Where does it come from? Is this a psychosis? No. It's actually based upon an authentic reading of their holy book. It would be as though someone picked up the Old Testament, which I have in my hand, and I've read it from cover to cover many times. If someone picked up our Old Testament, the Jewish Bible, and read it from the beginning to the end, from Genesis to the end, and actually followed the rules of Leviticus, they would be killing adulterers, they'd be killing gays, they'd be doing everything that these psychos are doing. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Does anyone really know that? You know, I think I have to go on a soliloquy on this for a minute. And I have to be very cautious where I go with this because I know what the mud crawlers in the media are liable to say. If I hold up the book that started it all, I mean, Islam didn't precede the Jewish Bible. It followed it. It was the third of the religions, not the first. And Muhammad copied a lot of the Old Testament, added to it, annotated it, amended it. But a lot of what his rules are came from the Old Testament written by the Jewish prophets, some would say by God. However you want to look at it, it doesn't matter. It's in writing. It's been around for 5,000 years. And if you were to read Leviticus in particular, and you were to follow the rules of Leviticus, chapter and verse, and do what Leviticus says should be done, then you would be a fundamentalist Islamist. Is that well put? Did I say anything that can get me in trouble? If you were to follow all of the precepts of Leviticus and do what Leviticus writes should be done to gays, to this one, to that one that those ancients didn't like, you would be perfect to join ISIS. I'm not going to read it to you, but I could because I've read it to myself and my eyes open with horror. Aaron's blood, bringeth the meal offering, blah, 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 horn of the ram, blah, blah. It's all blood. The whole thing is about blood, killing, slashing, murder. The priest shall dip his finger in the blood. I hate sacrifice in the temples. I don't like when Jews kill chickens. How do you like that? It's a barbaric ritual. Again, it comes from the ancient times. Everything killing and bleeding and blood. Disgusting. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm going to go on into Leviticus, way past kosher foods. By the way, that's why the Muslims don't eat pork. They got it from Leviticus. Did you know that it came from the no pork from Leviticus? There's no comedy here. No comedy. So you go past Leviticus, you go past the pork, you go past the shrimp, you go past the clean, unclean, you go past the leper, and you keep moving along. You get past New Canaan, and you're flipping the pages, and then you get to Leviticus 18. And he starts talking about that the people are perverse. You shall not walk in their statutes. You shall be pure, in other words. And you shall not be naked. And it's all about nakedness. They were very, very heavily into this. Thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of a woman and her daughter, okay? You're not going to lewdness, blah, blah, blah. Not take a woman to her sister, blah, blah, blah. Thou shalt not lie carnally with thy neighbor's wife to defile thyself with her. Thou shalt not lie with mankind as with womankind. It is an abomination. Thou shalt not lie with any beast to defile thyself. Neither shall any woman stand before a beast to lie down thereto. It is perversion. Defile not ye thyselves in any of these things, for in all these the nations are defiled, and the land was defiled. And he's building up here. After telling you what should not be done, he's building up whoever wrote Leviticus. Some would say God dictated it. It goes into other things. It tells you what to do. Thou shalt not oppress thy neighbor, nor rob him. Some good things in there. And the wages of a hired servant shall not abide with thee all night until the morning. You shall not curse the deaf, nor put a stumbling block before the blind. So in other words, what this is saying, it's a series of rules to live by, rules for planet Earth. But many of them are antiquated, and they have to be looked at from the point of view of the world that we live in. Some of them are reasonable. So you keep the reasonable laws and edicts. You keep the reasonable taboos. But you drop those that are crazy, insane, as Jews have. Jews have dropped the insane part of Leviticus. If a man lie with mankind, as with womankind, both of them have committed abomination, they shall surely be put to death. So Jews don't do that, but ISIS does. I mean, I'm just reading to you. What do you want from me? To make believe it doesn't exist? It's there. If a man take with his wife, and if a man take with his wife also her mother, it is wickedness, they shall be burnt with fire, both he and they. Male lie with a beast, he shall surely be put to death, and you shall slay the beast. I mean, and on and on. I don't have to read it to you. You can read it yourself. All right, we don't live those laws anymore. But, there are things in here that make sense, like, not withholding wages from a worker. Don't oppress your neighbor. Don't hate thy brother in thy heart. Thou shalt not take vengeance, nor bear any grudge against the children of thy people. But thou shalt love the neighbor as thyself. Thou shalt not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind. What does that mean? That's an interesting one, by the way. Shall not let thy cattle gender with a diverse kind. They didn't like mixing of the species. Did you know that? Thou shalt not sow thy field with two kinds of seed. They were wrong about that. It's actually agriculture is very dangerous. They didn't know everything, okay? I'm giving an example for some field I know a lot about. Thou shalt not sow thy field with two kinds of seed. Doesn't apply. Idiotic. Leads to the death of that crop. In other words, if you have diverse crops in a field, you have a better chance of all of the crops surviving than if you conduct mono-agriculture. That's something everybody knows now. Neither shall there come upon thee a garment of two kinds of stuff mingled together. So in other words, they didn't even want wool mingled with, lamb hide. I don't know, whatever they used. What is the reason for some of this? Some of it's nonsensical. Unfortunately, there are people in Germany who practice the rules that were just laid down, as I read to you from the Jewish Bible, transmuted into the Quran, and taken literally by these people, and that's why they go and kill children who are not Muslim. That's it, simple. I've given you a layout, the best I can, of the roots of this insanity. Now, what is the point of talking about the roots of this insanity? Because we've got to understand something. We cannot let people come into this country who are fundamentalist Muslims, and they have to be kicked out if they are. If Trump becomes president, not only must he not permit Muslims who believe in the Quran literally and practice it literally, and there has to be some kind of test to that effect, but he actually has to go into the mosques, whether it be the DHS or FBI under Trump, and they have to ask the imams to poll their members and find out and root out all those who practice the Quran literally, because that will eliminate terror to a very high percentile. Wrong or right?
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
My Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com. It's the only company I trust to protect my wealth. Call 800-BUI-COIN. The latest news on the shooting in Germany is, first of all, it's confusing right now. We have two different reports. They're looking for the shooters. One report says that the killers were shouting Allahu Akbar. Earlier reports, which could be propaganda, were saying that it was white men attacking foreigners, which is not being confirmed. It seems like a cover-up. We don't know right now. MAL, Daniel, welcome to the program. Fire away.
All right. Happy Friday. How are you, Mr. Savage?
Oh, come on. Please make your point.
All right. So I appreciate you also looking at...
Again, stop with the editorializing. Make your point.
Okay. Well, to make my point, I need to explain my point, yeah?
Well, go ahead.
Okay. So we have some religions in the world, several, and all of these religions, as you've mentioned with the Jewish faith, have this kind of extremism, right?
What's your point, for God's sakes?
Okay, so your solution to this one small cohort of, religious extremists, by the way, I think any person who says they're religious and kills innocent people, when they kill this person, they are no longer religious. Okay.
So why does ISIS define themselves by the acronym Islamic State?
Okay. I can call.
What do you mean okay? What do you mean by okay? They think they're religious. They call themselves the Islamic State, not the Buddhist state, not the Christian state, not the Hindu state, not the Jewish state. What do you mean there's no religion attached to it?
No. There are many terrorists that attach names of religion to the religion, and they commit the act in the name of this religion. Is this what you're saying?
What are you now suddenly running a talk show? You have to be a junior college professor somewhere. By the way, you're conducting yourself on a national show. What is your main point?
Okay, well, I don't know if I have a main point. I just wanted to say...
I don't think you have a main point. What you're trying to do is justify and explain away the terror that is being conducted around the world, primarily by Muslims. Isn't that what you're doing?
No, that is not what I'm doing. And what I'm saying to you is that all religions have extremism in them.
Oh, really? Let's hear about the other religions and their extremism.
So, I'm sorry, say again, please.
All right, I had enough of this. I really, this is not fun anymore. This is stupid. All religions now have extremists. Okay, so far as I know, there's no Christian state of the Levant. All religion have their extremists. Well, but it seem to be more condensed than one particular religion right now. And that's our problem, isn't it? Isn't that our problem right now? George on WJR, I think you're going to have the last word in this hour. Fire away. Go ahead, please.
Okay, Michael, you said that the book of Leviticus was meant for the planet Earth. No, it wasn't. It was meant specifically for the religious and social life of the Jewish people, the ancient Hebrew people. So those laws don't apply. That's why Christ, when he came, the law, he fulfilled the law of Moses, and then he went on in the age of grace. And
I understand all of that, and now you want to convert Jews to Christianity. That's not the purpose of my sermon. You missed the whole point. I said most modern Orthodox Jews read Leviticus, but they don't kill gays and they don't kill adulterers. They took the good and kept it, and they left off the bad. Didn't you hear that part of it?
Sure. That's no problem. I understand that,
All right, fine. I'm not here to do a conversion radio show. I resent it. The Christian fanatics call right away and start the Christianity perfected Judaism, see Jesus in a teardrop. I was washing my car the other day, and I can't believe it, Mike, but as the water ran down the mirror, I saw Jesus in the mirror. Come on. Give me a break, will you, for God's sakes? Can't we all pull together and see what's going on here? I'll be here for another hour with God's will. I hope you will be as well. This is Michael Savage. Be here.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE. Savage. Warning. The Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, winner of the National Radio Hall of Fame Award, Michael Savage.
For Muslims across the United States and around the world, this is a time of spiritual renewal, a time to reaffirm your duty to serve one another, especially the least fortunate among us. and it's a time to reflect on the values that guide you in your faith: gratitude, compassion, and generosity. And it's a reminder that those values of Islam, which comes from the word salam, meaning peace, are universal.
No, it doesn't.
They bind us all,
means submission.
regardless of our race or religion or creed.
It means submission.
A common purpose.
It means
that
submission.
Is our shared commitment to the dignity of every
All right, we heard
being.
the whole story. So last night, as Donald Trump gave his triumphant speech, your president continued on his monologue about the wonders of Islam and celebrated with a group of Muslims. Now, there's nothing wrong. He does it with Christians during Christian holidays, sort of. He does it with Jews during Passover and others. You know, that's what presidents do. But the timing couldn't have been worse, given what just happened in Germany and the ongoing aftermath of which there are multiple reports, some of which are conflicting. But as of right now, the most solid report I've seen is from an eyewitness who heard him screaming Allahu Akbar and shooting children. He targeted children in Germany at a time of an incendiary time across the world. Several people dead, 9 now, including the gunman. Shooter was screaming Allahu Akbar, whatever that means. God is great. And there's a picture of him. It's hard to say what he is. Looking at the picture, it's blurry. Eyewitness heard shooter yelling Allah Akbar 6 feet away from the terrorist. So what are you going to do about this? You got Trump, on the other hand, promising us law and order, building a wall. Listen to clip number 8 from last night on the Savage Nation.
We are going to build a great border wall to stop illegal immigration, to stop the gangs and the violence, and to stop the drugs from pouring into our communities. I have been honored to receive the endorsement of America's Border Patrol agents and will work directly with them to protect the integrity of our lawful immigration system.
He roared like a lion. That was pretty good. No wonder the liberals hate him. You know, cut off the drugs, cut off the gangs. You can't have that. That would kill the economy of San Francisco, amongst many other cities. So, look, these are not laughing times. There's no room for. There's not even any room. There's no air in the room for humor. There's none. Right now, Hillary is holding a rally in Tampa. I don't know what she'll say about the rampage in Germany. 9 dead. They're still not reporting who he was, but eyewitnesses are saying he screamed Allah Akbar. Even CNN picked up on that one. So what do you want to say about all of this? You want to put it all together, Trump's wall, and then this the next day? Obama catering to Muslims, and then this the next day? What does this say to you? What does this say to you? KSFO, Abu, thank you. You're on the Savage Nation. What's your point?
Yeah, I'm disturbed by all of this, Michael. You know, I'm a Muslim for Trump, and I like to see him get in the White House, and God bless him if he straightens a lot of this foolishness out. But I'd also want to say that the black Moors of Islam who originated would be ashamed of these heathens, people who are treating Islam in this way. Now, anyone also can just yell Allahu Akbar, so that's a little disturbing to me. Every time something happens, somebody has to yell Allahu Akbar. Also, these people with ISIS, if these people don't pray 5 times a day, do Ramadan and all the other Orthodox Islamic traditions, they're not Muslims. They're just criminals. And we have a name for them, and they're called the Fusikun.
Well, you're probably 100% right. Did you hang up? I don't know if he hung up or not. I guess he wanted to just vent. Is he still there? I don't know. He hung up. He just wanted to vent. That's okay. He's outraged that people are hijacking his religion and doing these things in the name of his religion, because he sounds like a man who's very passionate about Islam, and he agrees with me that he doesn't practice the tenets of the Quran, all the tenets, because the tenets do include the statements that we made earlier. They came from the Old Testament. Kill gays, throw whatever. That's what they're doing in fundamentalist areas of the world that are ruled by fanatics. So that's what we're talking about. It's a tough topic because, you know, people think that if you focus in on these aspects of the fundamentalists, you're attacking the entire religion. It's not what I said at all, but of course it's easy to misinterpret anybody. and castigate anybody that you want on the earth. But that's not what I said. I'll repeat what I said in case you want to get it right, because I think it's a logical solution. Hey, look, I'm only one person. Never forget that. Yes, I was given by God the gift of the power of talk, the power of ability to form ideas and express them through my voice. Yes. Then I was given by God's grace the podium of radio. That's also a gift from God. I don't abuse it. I try not to abuse it. And the only way I can actually thank God for what he has given me is trying to stick to the truth as often as I can. It's as simple as that. The truth is the ultimate salvation for all of us. And the truth that I am trying to say to you is no nation can survive its fools nor its traitors. And any nation that would admit people who are practicing a religion that interprets their rules literally and then says everyone who is not like me is an apostate who should be killed, that is not a sane nation. That's an insane nation. That's what I was saying. So what's wrong with that statement? Nothing. I don't think so. So now let's go to some callers. Daniel on WABC. Go ahead, please. You're on the Savage Nation.
Hi. I just want to make a clarification, and that if you want to talk politics, I'm happy to do that. I hear it time and time again that people say, you go to the Bible, the Old Testament, and it says an eye for an eye. It says stone this person, stone that person. That's not true. And I'm talking from a point of view of a rabbi, of Orthodox Judaism. What it really says, you have to go to the oral Torah and all of the written Torah.
Wait. Sir, excuse me. You're rewriting the Holy Scriptures right now to make your point is what you're doing.
So many things that are in the Holy Scriptures, you don't know what it means. It's not clear what it says. No,
it's pretty clear in the edition that I have of the Old Testament, and correct me if it was translated improperly. Leviticus is pretty full of kill this and kill that.
Does that mean anyone could take the law into their own hands and go and do it? No, absolutely not. Judaism has never...
Excuse me, sir. Let me read this to you. Leviticus 13. It's actually 20:13. If a man lie with mankind as with a woman, both of them shall committed abomination, they shall surely be put to death. What does that mean?
This is talking to the judges, and there are many, many laws and criteria that need to be filled in order for that to come true, to the extent that it says in the Oral Torah that a court, what's known as a Sanhedrin, that executed one person in 70 years was considered a very, very harsh court. You have to. Then
why is it still in Leviticus in the translated editions?
To warn people about it, to warn people that
the Holy Scriptures, according to the Masoretic text, the New Translation, with the aid of previous versions and with constant consultation of Jewish authorities, Jewish Publication Society of America. This edition was from 1955. Well, so what? It says, a man also or a woman that divineth by a ghost or a familiar spirit shall surely be put to death. They shall stone them with stones, their blood shall be upon them. My whole point is that the fanatics in ISIS are taking these rules written by ancient Jews and picked up in the Quran and interpreting them literally. That was my main point.
Then you're 100% right. They're interpreting it literally, and they're doing 100% wrong because that's not what it was meant to be. And any Orthodox Jew knows...
Well, it was not meant to be. It's very clear what it was. They stoned adulterers to death, and they stoned people who practiced witchcraft to death in ancient Israel. What do you mean, no? They did that.
Extremely, extremely rare that it ever happened in history. Extremely rare. It wasn't.
How do you know it was extremely rare? It's in the Holy Book.
Law into their own hands. If there was an extreme case that somebody brazenly did something, there are witnesses, and there are loads of situations that need to be.
You know, I get dizzy when I actually get almost a sort of dizziness when I get calls like this. I'm reading in plain English a translation of the ancient text, and you're denying that it exists.
Denying it exists. It exists, but you need to understand what's written there. You can't read it literally. That's exactly what ISIS does. We're not ISIS. Orthodox Jews are not ISIS. We don't translate it literally. There are so many things.
Right, so let me ask another question. When you chant your prayers and you come across these passages in Hebrew, don't you say these exact words in Hebrew?
Those exact words, no, but other exact words, yes, we do say.
So in other words, you go over these statements, but you don't practice them, is my whole point. No. They chant these things, then they go around to villages that they conquer, and if they want to kill somebody who's gay, they kill them. They say, look, my holy book says kill him, so we're going to kill you. They find a woman who committed adultery. What about these so-called honor killings, so-called all over the world by Muslims to their own children, their own sisters? Where are they getting that from? They're interpreting the Quran literally, is my point.
It's horrible, horrible evil. But for them to say that is written in the Bible, no, not my Bible, not my God. My God is...
It is in your... No, yes, it is in your Bible. Yes, it is in your Bible. Yes, it is in the Orthodox Jewish Bible. Yes, it is. You can't deny history and you can't deny reality. My point is, though, that the Jews don't practice this anymore. They did in the ancient desert times. In the desert, this is how the Jews lived. But they don't practice it, even though it's in the Bible.
It was extremely rare that they did it, and I want to...
All right, fine, it's rare, but they did it. That's all. They didn't. These guys are still living in those times. I guess I am not making my point clear enough. It's very hard to... I understand people get defensive about their religion, no matter what their religion is. They get automatically defensive, and that's why people avoid it altogether. That's why everyone tries to avoid talking about religion, but then we may as well not talk about politics. I was told by my mother, never talk about religion or politics with strangers because you'll get into an argument. And here I am 22 years later. Okay, I appreciate your listening to the show and your willingness to defend your position. I happen to disagree with it. And maybe we should go a step further. If I'm saying that in the future, because America can't live the way it's been living, we cannot be an open nation anymore. I'm sorry. This open book, come on in, do whatever you want, is over. It's not our values. My God, what are you talking about? Our values are to live, number one. Survival comes before all of the other crap. Yes, there should be a test. And if you're getting someone coming in from an Islamic land who is practicing their religion according to the ancient book and actually believes they have to interpret it and follow it, they should not be allowed into the country. What is wrong with that statement? Tell me what's wrong with that statement. You want to bring people in? There's a good giveaway to it. If their wives are dressed in a tent in 105-degree weather, you can pretty much be sure that the bearded sadist who controls that woman is an interpreter of the ancient book. But I'll tell you something that you may not know. Do you know that the burqa is not in the Quran? Did you know that? Did you know that that's not an ancient interpretation of Islam? Get some Islamic callers now who are calling and either agreeing or disagreeing with me. Not all Muslims put their women in tents to control them and treat them like chattel. They don't do that to them. That's not even an ancient interpretation of the Quran. It's not in there. It doesn't say a woman shall be closed up like a caterpillar, where only her eyes are allowed to be seen. What do you do that to a woman in a country like this? Go do it in the hellhole you came from. What are you doing it here for? It's incompatible with Western values. And by the way, that's been said in many European nations. They don't want that. Now, it's interesting if you want to really talk about that. I've thought about this long and hard for years now. Now compare it to the slut dress here in America. Now compare it to the slut dress with them walking down the street half naked, exhibiting their bodies every way they can. You say, well, look at this. On one side you have the West, where the women have become harlots, dressing like prostitutes. On the other hand, you have this ancient interpretation dressing them in some ridiculously absurd costume. Where is the middle ground? Where is the balance? Has the world lost its mind? I think there's a clear answer to that question. And I'll be back to discuss it with you, if you don't mind. You can call 855-400-7282 on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Well, I guess we're going to talk about the Bible right now on the Savage Nation, and I have such mixed feelings about religion these days, you have no idea. And the problem is that if you go in that direction, what you wind up with is all religion. You go back to Karl Marx, who wrote "Religion is the opiate of the masses." So how did he replace that? He replaced it with statism. He went from religion to statism, where the state became the religion, which it is for most Democrats. Actually, if you analyze it from that point of view, that's why they're fanatically supportive of Obama. They think he's a religious figure, and he represents their religion, whatever that may be. They've eschewed religion, per se, and he becomes their religious messiah. But that's where you go when you start to reject religion entirely. And this is the problem we're all grappling with right now. KSFO Owen, go ahead, make your point, please.
Okay, so I consider myself a theonomist. I believe that God's law is applicable for a Christian society. I view it through the New Testament lens, so that's precedence over the Old Testament. However, it is literally translated. I would say, by what standard do you consider anything to be a good or bad law? And even taking it a step further, by what?
Well, we're talking in generalities. My point was quite specific. My point is that the literal interpretation of the Quran with regard to non-believers is what's causing the terrorism. That was my main point. And then I cited the origins of that perspective, which is the Old Testament. That was what I was doing. I mean, did you grasp that?
I totally heard everything you said. I understood what you're saying. However, I would say that it is applicable and it is literal. You can't arbitrarily choose which part of the Bible to throw out.
Oh wait, are you a Christian? So do you practice the New Testament?
Yes, sir. I view the Old Testament through the lens of the New Testament. So
all right. So you don't believe that Leviticus should be followed to the letter of the law, right?
I believe in a Christian society it should, absolutely.
Oh, so wait a minute. You believe that they should do those things to gays and to adulterers?
I don't think that this is, yes. I want to shoot it straight, absolutely.
All right, well, I'll go shoot it straight. Look, we can get you a one-way ticket to Raqqa if you want. We can raise some money for you. You can grow a beard and wear a cross and practice their view of the world. Because that's what you just said. So here we go again. Now you get the nuts calling now. They want the same laws from the Christian side. Great, that's where we wound up here. Hornet's Nest.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
It is a crazy time that we're living in. Trump gives this triumphant speech last night, build a great wall, brings the house down. They have the prepared speeches already that it's dark and it's this and it's that. And then today we wake up in the morning and there's a carnage in Munich. And the grinning fool gives a speech, and he starts laughing. During his speech to law enforcement, in order to try and get the cops to vote for Hillary, he starts laughing and making it about himself. Grinning Obama jokes during statement on Munich carnage as he shifts gears to say he'll miss daughter Malia when she leaves the nest for college. I personally watched it, asked the guys, it was during a break, I went insane. I started to scream in the other room. I literally lost my voice. I couldn't listen to this fool for one more second. I can't wait for him to be gone. I wish there was a way to buy him out earlier. When you have a CEO wrecking a company, they give him a buyout. They ask him to leave early. Can't we say, I'll tell you what, if you leave early, the taxpayers will give you $50 million. We'll raise the money. Just get out of there already. Go already. And take the dishes. Take the cutlery. Take the silverware. Take the beds. Take the linens. Take the paintings. But please leave the White House. Do something. It's $50 million. We'll buy you out. Please get out. We can't take it anymore. That's what I wanted. I just couldn't take it. I couldn't believe this. I don't know what it is. I'm taking it so personally. People are dead in Munich. And he's putting on a yuck speech. Again, it's about him. Again, he's disconnected. This is not the issue that you think it is. This is not a man who's just a good liberal who wants peace on earth. I don't believe that at all. But what's the point of railing about him? What am I going to gain by that? What are you going to gain by talking about him? We know what he is. And we also know that we want change. We also know we need change. The only question is, are you going to get change from the Harridan or are you going to get change from the businessman? Well, you're going to take a chance that you'll get it from the businessman. And a chance it is. There's no guarantees. Governments are so vast, governments are so entrenched that it's very hard to get change going, by the way. It takes a while to get that old change thing going. He's leaving a scorched earth behind. He's actually implanted bureaucrats into every avenue of the federal government, from the courts to the NIH, that will be almost impossible to remove. They're all civil servants. You cannot fire them. Trump's going to have to pass an executive order to transfer their jobs from civil service to something else so they can be thrown out, or the country will not change. Oh, that's all in scorched earth. I'm not here to talk about what's in my book. It's just a heavy day. It's a heavy day. And by the way, the media is covering up the shooter already. All morning it was a misidentity. This was a man with anti-immigrant statements. Well, apparently, and it's sad to say, the terrorist or one of them screamed Allahu Akbar as he killed children in a McDonald's. Terrible thing. It's not like a fun thing to report. I'm not happy to report it. I don't care who did it. The man is an evil man or evil men. They should be hunted down and killed on the spot. 9 dead, more wounded. ISIS is celebrating. Allahu Akbar, police hunt for shooters. It's on the Drudge Report from the Gateway Pundit, from other sources. So what do you want to say about all of this? WABC, New York City. David, thanks for hanging on. What's on your mind?
Yeah, Michael, I just wanted to say, in the past, I've always heard you say that liberalism is a mental disorder, and I thought, that's a little extreme. I don't know, they're maybe a little misguided. Today, hearing our president, just the media, hello, these guys don't get it straight. They want to kill us. There's something crazy going on. The world is spinning apart. And they don't get it. I don't know. Liberalism, it just...
Do you think that the leaders don't get it or that they're covering it up? Which do you think it is?
It could be. The president, I don't know. But you have other people in the media, other these pundits. I don't think they're all... I can't imagine that every single one of them is a traitor and they want to kill everyone in America.
No, of course that's not what I said. I said liberalism is a mental disorder. And there's no better example of it than when you listen to the comments about Trump's speech by the bunch of them. All they said was they all repeated the same thing. Dark speech, dark speech, dark speech, dark speech. From vengeful, 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 demagogue, demagogue, demagogue. Listen to clip number 7 on the Savage Nation. Go ahead.
I am your voice, Trump said. It was a loud voice, more vengeful than hopeful, more hyperbole than detail.
People in this hall see him as a man on a white horse who will lead them to some kind of a sanctuary and then pull the drawbridge up behind them. Others looking in are going to see someone they'll only think of as a demagogue of some kind.
Said Mark Loretta, it's a pretty dark speech. Labeled Hillary Clinton the candidate of death, destruction, terrorism, weakness, and mass lawlessness.
Yeah, if Americans are not scared for their safety before tonight, they are tonight.
Dark speech, scared for their safety. You know, the opposite happens to be true, Martha and George. George was a Democrat operative for years, as are all of them. I mean, you're telling me that the guy at NBC News who they grew a beard for, Chuck Todd, who had no beard, he looked like a 13-year-old that they gave a news job to. It looked like Hillary Clinton's daughter who worked in the news department for 3 months for $600,000 a year. They found Chuck Todd, another operative, and they said, look, he looks too young, grow a beard on him. But the fact is they're all Democrat operatives. What good is that going to do us to say it over and over again? I know what you want to talk about. Let's go to I mean, we got so many great callers right now on this Bible thing. I think I've touched on a core question that's troubled me for years, to be very honest with you. I've had a problem with religion ever since the terrorism began. I've had a problem with all religion since the terrorism began. I've had a lot of trouble within myself since the terrorism began. And I ask myself over and over again, where do these evil people get their ideas that it's okay to rape women, little girls 8 years old? Where are they getting this from their religion? Where do they get the idea that it's okay to buy and sell slaves? From their religion. Where do they get their idea it's okay to open up on children in a McDonald's in Munich? From their religion. So I say, well, wait a minute. Now, look, we got to come to terms with this problem. If religion is the core that they are using to justify their madness, you know what? I have to remind you of something that you may not understand about evil people. And I've noted ever since I've been a kid there's always been bad kids around. Anytime a bully wanted to pick on someone when I was young, they would always do it with a pretext of why they were picking on that person. Let's say the big bully went over to a little kid. He would say something to the little kid that was not true as justification for punching the little kid. Bullies do that. Now, you could argue that these are all losers who go into ISIS, and they are. They're certainly not practitioners of an enlightened Islam, if you want to put it to you that way. I mean, let's be clear. They're not practicing an enlightened form of Islam. Any Muslim would agree with that statement. But it's religion itself that is at the core of the entire world's problems right now. I know you say, wow, Man, where did you come out of the tunnel on that one? Well, I came out of the tunnel on that one. We have to look at religion now. Religion is a problem. There is a problem within religion. You say, well, it's not all religions. No, it is not. No, it is certainly not found in Buddhism. I've read the Buddhist tractates. In fact, I have a copy of the Teachings of Buddha right here, which I keep next to the Jewish Bible, the Christian Bible. Teachings of Buddha. There's not one mention of killing anyone. There's no killing in here. It's a book of poetry and philosophy. In all of Buddhism, it doesn't mean Buddhists are not great warriors. Some of them are ferociously great warriors, but that's not where they get their warrior nature from. They don't get it from their religion. The teaching of Buddha, frankly, is all about peace and kindness and charity. That's what it is. I don't have to read it to you to tell you that. It's all fables and allegories, rather. On and on and on. Then I pick up other Bibles. Some of them are different. Look at the Hindu writings. A lot of mythology in the Hindu writings. I don't see much about murder in the Hindu tracts. I don't know where that comes from here. So I look at the Quran. It has very strict laws. Very strict laws. Say, well, where do they get the idea to throw gays off the roof, as they do in Iran? Hang them from cranes. Where do they get the idea from? I'm sorry to tell you, it's from the fundamentalist interpretation of their religion. Where do they get the idea that it's okay to conquer a town or a village and take little Yazidi girls and use her for rape, pass her around from man to man, committing a crime like this that the girl can never be cured? Some of the girls come out of there, they wish they were dead from what was done to them. Where do they get this idea that it's okay? Where? From their religion, their interpretation of the religion. So what does that do for us here in America? We have to come to terms one day with the fact that this is the problem. And then there has to be a litmus test. It's not good enough to just say we have freedom of religion with a blanket statement. Freedom of religion. What does that mean? For example, I live and die by the First Amendment, which is freedom of speech. Don't I? Raise your hand if you know what I'm talking about. I do. I practice. I live because of the First Amendment. I'm able to read, I'm able to write, and I'm able to say what I want within certain limitations. I have very strong, strict limitations in my First Amendment. Do you know that? You know what that limitation is? Well, an example, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater. So if we have limitations on the First Amendment with regard to speech, why should we not apply those limitations that are inherent in the First Amendment to religion? I'm putting it out there. I'm throwing the pebble in the pond. No one has said this before. Nobody that I know of has said that. Nobody has gone where I just went. I just went there. I threw the pebble out, talk about it, think about it. Let's develop the idea, because we're going to have to do it whether we want to or not. We cannot permit millions of people to come in here who hold a book in their hands. I don't care if it's called Joe Palooka's Handbook. And they say, in this handbook, I have the right to cut your throat if I don't like your religion. In this book, I have the right to blow up your mall because it says so in my book. We can't let them in. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No sane nation on earth would let that happen. And that's my position today. Allah Akbar. Munich mall terrorist screams Allahu Akbar. Police hunt for shooters. It's still up there. Dave on WTNY in New York. Welcome to the program. What's your point?
Yeah, my point is that I get irritated when people try to say there's a distinction between, this radical Islam, that's a tiny minority of extremists, versus the great mass of Muslims who are somehow these mythical, peaceful people, because you've got 19 countries out there, Mike, that have laws that they enforce where if you leave Islam, the penalty is death. Okay?
But see, here's the problem with that fundamentalist position that you are taking. What are you arguing, that all Muslims should be kicked out of America? I hope not.
What I'm saying is I'm agreeing with your last statement about, you can apply the First Amendment and there can be, limitations on that.
All right, fine, but you're not saying that Islam should be banned in America, are you?
I'm saying that we should think about redefining religion to where these tenets of Islam that do come right from the Holy.
All right, well, that's what I was saying. That's all I'm saying, is that we cannot permit a fundamentalist interpretation of the religion. It's that simple, because otherwise we're going to put ourselves in increasing danger. I think it's a rational statement that even reformists, by the way, in Islam have said, by the way, there are reformist movements within Islam who say exactly the same as I just said on this national radio program. So please don't misinterpret me for political gain, because it just won't hold up if you analyze what I've said and what I actually mean. There's so much more to be talking about, and we're going to be talking about it. Trump's speech was unfortunately cast in the shadow of this shooting this morning, but in some ways it just reinforced everything he was saying. In a sad manner, that's what happened. Especially when you see the big-eared clown clowning around this morning after the Munich shooting. You know, Trump's speech was about protection of us, the citizens, securing the borders. That's what it was about. And the clown gets up this morning with the big ears and gives a speech about the shooting and breaks into a giggle like it's not real to him. Nothing is real to him. Nothing. Now, she's speaking right now, the Harridan in Florida, with that sick smile that gets me ill. You know, there's certain faces that just get me ill. I'm sorry, she's got one of them. That plastic smile of hers, that rah-rah, sis-boom-bah speech of hers. Look at her with the stooges behind her. Oh, I can't wait for next week. I can't wait for next week. The Philadelphia story should be something to behold. Oh, my God, I can't wait for that one. The singing and the dancing and the diversity. I just can't wait for it. I'll be back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by SwissAmerica.com, the only company I trust to protect my wealth and financial future. Call 1-800-289-2646. Witness says the gunman in Munich was killing the children. He targeted children screaming Allahu Akbar. Children. He targeted children. Gunman was killing the children screaming Allahu Akbar. And Schlepp Smith had the nerve to say that he was not Muslim. Earlier today, Shepard Smith said the guy was screaming, I'm a German citizen and I hate foreigners. That was the first false flag story that was put out early this afternoon. Prince Alawid's News Corporation, of course, is out front with false flags. Fox is now the BBC. It's a leftist ploy. A guy screaming, I'm a German citizen, I hate foreigners. That's a leftist ploy. Then we heard Allahu Akbar. Why would he attack German children? Why would he attack German children? Why? Why would they attack German children? What is this about? What are they trying to do? What is this about? The guy did the shooting in the McDonald's shouting Allahu Akbar. ISIS takes credit for it. The police won't identify who the shooters are. And today, John Kerry gives a speech saying that refrigerator gases are more dangerous than ISIS. I'm not making it up. It's an absolute truth. This is the insanity of the West. Kerry says refrigerator chemicals are just as bad as ISIS. He said it just today. In Vienna, negotiating a global climate deal to make sure that the gangsters in the Green Gang movement get more and more billions, says that refrigerants in basic household and commercial appliances such as air